Greetings all. We're looking out toward the west at the sunset. It's what, about 7 p.m. Beautiful day. Still some clouds. Well, more clouds now than earlier. But it's a beautiful day still. It's funny, in the evening, these birds gather, and well, throughout the day too. The power lines are filled with birds. Surprised how many insects. Oh, nevertheless, the world is doing what it does. The people, some try to maneuver inside that bubble, and some try to control those inside the bubble. You're watching the conflict spread. Well, at least I am watching it spread. Okay. Man, listen to all those frogs. Anyway, the focus on, I don't know, Russia, China, Ukraine, Taiwan, Iran. But there is West Africa. And when I say West Africa, it's all over West Africa now. As if the Europeans operating through France and Britain can't control the area, the idea is to destabilize it. But everybody knows now that people used to say, well, we want France to come in to help make peace. The only people that are doing that now are the criminals in Nigeria. And I'm holding back very carefully when I said that. Cameroon, it's another one. And you gotta watch Ghana too, because Ghana is throwing the sword in the air and trying to catch the handle. That game. But sooner or later it catches up and somebody gets hurt. It started raining a little bit, so I had to pick up the pace and finish my walk before doing before getting to the rest of the video. Nevertheless, as I was saying, the war is spreading. The Europeans now are, it would look like America is trying to get out of wars, but that's not what is happening. It's a back door to the Europeans. Now they are going to take over the war from Ukraine to fight Russia. Somehow the people believe that if they can keep Russia fighting, that it will also affect China. And so America is kind of pulling back in the Middle East, becoming a regional power, but projecting that power across the ocean through to a certain extent through drone warfare. They can get other people to push other people into the wars in the areas where they want to destabilize. One of those other people is India. Not long ago, India formed a partnership with Israel. And the Israelis, they're going to build weapons factory in India with cutting edge laser technology. And now India is beginning to push Pakistan, because Pakistan is becoming the dominant player in the region through the Chinese and the Iranians. And if Pakistan take over the security for the Saudis and all the other Arab nations that used to be under America's umbrella, then India is going to find itself in a real pickle, because they got the Chinese neighbor who is far superior, but they're upset while not being able to overcome that superiority. And then across the Far East, you got the Japanese, who are again beginning to rebuild their military with the help, of America. You got the Australians and you got the Philippines. There's not too much to worry about the Filipinos, but still irritation for China. But all the nations around China are becoming more wealthy, stronger economically, through their attachments to China. And if they don't follow the Indian model, well, we have the bomb, so we are great. We have all of these graduates in STEM technology, so we are great. But when you dig down into the Indian economy, you see it's built on theft and greed. India will, and they did it several times, like they did it to Samsung. They talk sweet words into the ear of the Samsung management, and make them believe that they were getting a fantastic deal. Samsung came into India, invested tons of money and built factories, and then the Indian government came in and says, "Hey, you're not paying taxes." So they all the profits that Samsung made, the Indian government took in the form of taxes. So Samsung moved out. So now they have empty factories, and they have done it to everybody that came in. Samsung wasn't the last one, and even Apple almost fell into the trap. Apple's moved some of its manufacturing from China to India, and in the process of moving, they began to realize that India was playing this trick and pulled out. So India really is not as strong as you think it is. You know, you might have a big army, and for somebody who's never been to India and only listen to what they hear coming out of India, you will think that India is some kind of power next to China, but it's not. It's far down the day America stops hiring Indian engineers, programmers, Indian economy is going to be in shambles. Just like how Germany is now in, the most economically depressing state since World War II. That's what you're going to see in India. So the war is not finished. If you watch the president talking, and some of his advisors and the people who are always pushing his agenda, well, not his agenda, but the agenda for war, you would think that, oh, we are trying to wind this war down, but it's not. 2 days ago, well, not 2 days ago, it's been going on for a while, but China put the squeeze on the paper transactions for gold. And when I say the paper transactions, see, there are people who sell actual gold. And the Chinese didn't come down on that trade in China. But there are people who sell paper connected to a gold processing company or a bank or some investment firm. You know, they might have a ton of gold, but they selling stocks in that stock, paper stock, not actual physical stock, but paper stock, 10 times the value of the gold that they have. So each time somebody trades that paper thinking that they have physical gold somewhere, the reality is that they don't. And when normally what happens is the people in the gold markets like New York, and when I say gold market, they call it actually the bullion market, because it's not only about gold, it's all about precious metals. Right? And the precious metals, they call it bullion. But the people in that market in London, New York, sometimes Singapore, Brussels or Switzerland, Bern. Now, London too, quarter mile. But they trade not in the physical gold, but that paper. And what they did was they bid that price of gold up to over $5,000. Each time they sell a piece of paper and somebody wants to buy it, they raise the price. And that's what has happened. But that gold, the price of gold was affecting the markets and causing inflation along with the oil. They're doing it with the oil now too, so you gotta be careful of that. You might buy oil in the market or you invest in it. And when you invest in the oil, you don't own the tanker or that tank full of oil until the market falls. So if you spend $100,000 in oil and you own a tanker, if you don't sell that tanker of oil before your bet expires, they're gonna come to you to get the rest of the money for that oil, especially if the price goes down a little. And that's how things work. The people selling the paper bid the price up, make it appear as though the market is expecting to go higher. And then when they get the little people coming in, because the big people with their computer programmers are the first to buy in. When they get the average middle class guy who's trading some stocks on his own to come in, and which is now a lot of people who's got 401ks, they drop the price down, you lose your money. And that's what they did with a lot of Chinese netizens. So China decided, you know what? You can't trade that paper in China anymore. Chinese are not allowed to trade in that paper. And the price of gold just went from 5,000, 51 or something like close to 5,100, 5,200, down to 44,000 now. So that's $1,000 a loss for people around the world who started buying these papers. How they did it is what they did is called you buy on margin. So you might put down 10%, but you think you're controlling, 10 ounces of gold. You put down 10% of the cost of that 10 ounces, hoping that it will go up so you can sell, pay off the part that you owe, the 90%, and you're still going to make a profit. Well, when the margin is called, and one of the world's biggest corporations is famous for that. If I tell you who that corporation is, some of you won't believe me, but that's the way it is. Everybody heard about that corporation. I can tell you now, especially if you're in the West. If you live in a rural village in somewhere in China or India or Far East somewhere, or in Africa, you might not have heard of it, but I can guarantee you 99%, well, no, let's say 75% of the people in the West, when I say the West, Europe, Australia, Japan, even Barbados, Jamaica, they know about it. South America, especially South and Central America, they know about it, period. But that's the corporation. And when they do a margin call, you as a small guy with paper lose your money. And that's how the war is being fought. That's another way the war is being fought. Same thing has been done with oil. That's another way the war is being fought. The price gets driven up, and then you get the overnight market where the price might come down a little, and then the next day the price goes back up because shots being fired, missiles fired, bombs dropped. So the war is continuing, even through the pretense that it's ended and that they want it to end. And I'm watching, like I always do, African people. And like I said earlier in the video, the Ghanaians are, it seems like, well, you know the Nigerians, you know, the Nigerians, the government's corrupt. They can't even call it corruption. It's just evil. Same thing in Cameroon and all across Northwest Africa and North Africa. That's the way it is. But you know, they're watching to see what the next move is going to be. Right now, America and Europe are looking at everybody who's got capital and looking for a means to take it. You know, there's counties in America where your house would be taken and sold for the water bill. That's how bad it's getting. So as I warn you all the time, if you're in Africa, watch what the country you're doing, you're living in. If you're just like somebody who is in Lagos, you know, and you've got some money and you're running the crowd you're in and you're not paying attention to what's going on in the rest of Nigeria, one day you wake up, holy mackerel, you know, I can't live here. So how do you escape? By that time, you're now trapped. Could be not even Africa, but Philippines. A lot of people go for the Philippines thinking that it's cheap there and you can live there easily, relax, and till about 1-2 years down the road, and you begin to see it's not affecting you now because you're getting that. When you first got there, you're going to places, you know, you're going to the beaches, you're enjoying the days out, sunshine out. Then as you see more and more of the country, you begin to see what's going on underneath or behind the lights. Because the lights are always on you. The smiling Filipino is always in your face. But then you learn that one day you're not given enough, so the smiles go away. And you begin to see the real Philippines. And now you want to out, but you can't go back because you sold your house in America or Europe or Australia. You're trapped in the Philippines, trapped in Thailand, trapped in Laos, Vietnam, wherever you are, you're trapped. And with your government back home looking for all the money it can to fight the wars, you can't go back home and rebuild anymore. So whatever you do, watch your back. Stay safe. Peace.